All right. Give it a few minutes for people to come in, and then we will get started. All right. Just gotta put this up here and we can get started. Oh, Lord. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, no, wait a minute. It's not moving. Let me try it again. All right. Okay. All right. I am ready. Thank you for coming. This won't be long, but it's really tragic. And I'm really surprised that more people don't, some people have done this story, but not a lot. But I expect in the coming days, it'll probably be more people talking about this story. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Let's see. All right. Just give me a 1 if you can see my screen. How you doing, Santee? I didn't know you were in here. And shalom to everybody in the chat. Shalom, shalom. Okay, thank you. All right, y'all. Here we go again. The man that you see down on the ground with a hood over his head, he's nude and got a hood over his head, is a black man. And the police officers are from the Rochester Police Department, and they suffocated this black man to death. This happened back in March. The story is actually just breaking now. It just came out in the last few recent days. You might have seen the protest that's going on in Rochester, because as soon as this broke and people realized what happened, they start taking to the streets. This is so graphic. I cannot show y'all the video. But what I will do, I will leave after this is all over. I will place the link in the description box so that you can watch it at your own discretion. It is pretty sick. They suffocate this man to death and then throw him in the back of an ambulance. He died. All right, so the video shows a black man suffocating after Rochester police placed a hood over his head and they kneeled on his back. They got this thing about kneeling. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? This just go to show you they've been doing this shit for a long, long time. It's just that now it is being recorded. You can best believe back in the 80s and 90s, they were doing this knee stuff on our black men. It just wasn't getting recorded back then. They didn't just start doing this mess overnight. Don't believe that for 1 second. But now that we got cameras on our phones, we can now record this shit where it was not done before. Now you see they have killed many of our men and even boys in police custody this way. And here's what I think. If you are in police custody, that means they are in charge of you from that point on. If somebody dies, especially like this, every single one of these cops that were around when it happened should be charged, convicted, and placed behind bars. But we know in this society, the name of the game is no accountability. That's what it's all about. So this article came out September 3rd, 2020. A black man suffocated to death in Rochester, New York, earlier this year after police officers placed a hood over his head and pushed his face into the pavement and kneeled on his back for 2 minutes, according to a disturbing body camera footage released Wednesday. And it is on this article, but it's so graphic, I cannot play it for y'all. Daniel Prude, 41, was hospitalized with serious brain damage. And March 23rd, this is when the incident took place, on March 23rd, ladies and gentlemen. He was removed from life support and pronounced dead 1 week later. They didn't do a damn thing to these cops, y'all. What can a naked man on the ground, and look at the ground looks wet. So what can a naked man, arms handcuffed behind his back on a cold ass ground? Because if it was March, that ground was cold. New York, I'm in the Northeast. I know how cold it is still in March. So what threat was he to these police officers? He couldn't have been no threat. But they killed him anyway. You know, and that's why these people need to get off of this bullshit about you had to do something. You ain't got to do nothing in this fucking country to end up in police custody. You ain't got to do shit. Pruden's death, which came 2 months before the police killing of George Floyd, ignited civil rights protests across the country and really around the world, and received little attention until Wednesday, when family members and local activists in Rochester held a news conference to publicize the police body camera footage of the encounter. So if it wasn't for the family and local activists, this story would never have made it out at all. The video, first published by the Democratic and Chronicle, shows the 4 police officers surrounded Prude as he squirmed naked and handcuffed on the street in near freezing temperatures. That's what I'm talking about. I'm in the Northeast. You know, it may be March, but it's still freezing. People are still walking around with coats on. But he's on a cold, wet ground, naked. You know he was freezing his ass off. He had to be. So they said it was near freezing temperatures. The officers then put a hood on Prude's head in an apparent attempt to stop him from spitting. Take this MFer off my face, Prude demands. And yeah, I agree with him. What the hell are you putting that on for? Okay, it's 4 officers, and 4 officers can't control one nude man that's handcuffed on the ground? Y'all can't handle one man like that, and there's 4 of you. Oh, these people ain't no good. A white officer is seen pushing the man's hooded face into the pavement as another kneels on his back. So they killing this man on purpose. It is not their job to slap handcuffs on you and then put you to death. That's not their job. Once they got you and you're handcuffed, the next thing is they take you down to the police station. And that's all that should be happening. So all this other stuff, they decided to execute this man on the street. Prude accuses the cops of trying to kill me. He begins whimpering. His cries become more stifled until he falls silent. Now, isn't that what happened to George Floyd? That's exactly what happened to George Floyd. Then one of the officers says, just trying to be funny, "My man, you puking?" A Monroe County medical examiner ruled Prude's death as a homicide caused by complications of asphyxia. Isn't that what they said about George Floyd? So remember, this happened before George Floyd. This was in March. George Floyd happened in May. Okay. In the setting of a physical restraint, the report also listed acute intoxication, or PCP, as contributing factors, which is bullshit. They got all these opioid addicts running around here. They don't seem to have a problem with people drugged out, unless it's one of us. Then all of a sudden they got a problem with people being drugged out. The victim's brother said he called police because Prude, who was visiting from Chicago — see, this man was from Chicago, he wasn't even from New York — was acting strangely. Well, I wish his brother would not have called the police. We gotta, man, so many of our people end up dead because some neighbor, just like a Tatiana Jefferson, some neighbor across the street called the cops and she's dead. Now, this dude, he calls the cops on his brother. He was probably high. That's why he was acting strangely. And now them cops then came out and killed your brother. You ain't never getting them back now. The night before the incident, he was released from a local hospital after undergoing a mental health evaluation, the family said. So there was clearly something wrong. There was clearly something wrong with this man. But he didn't need to die out on those streets. He shouldn't have been put to death by no cops by asphyxia. I placed a call for my brother to get help, not for my brother to get lynched, Joe Prude said during the press conference, according to the Democrat and Chronicle. He accused authorities of orchestrating a cover-up into the death. Rochester officials halted the investigation into the death in April when Attorney General — remember, this is Letitia James. This is the New York Attorney General. Remember, the same one that wanted to set up a racial hotline for Asians to call in. But we know Black people in New York were getting racially harassed a hell of a lot more than those Asians. That Letitia. Okay. She took over the inquiry. That investigation is ongoing. Officers involved in the arrest remained employed by the Rochester Police Department. Why? They killed this man. They murdered him. They murdered him. And these cops, ladies and gentlemen, let's just call this shit what it is. These cops are only on these police forces to execute us. Let's call it what it is. Okay, yeah, the mayor came out and made a statement. Fuck them. Let me move on. Protests erupted in Rochester throughout the day on Wednesday, which police responded by firing tear gas and pepper spray into the crowd, NPR reports. Demonstrators then moved to the block where Prude was detained, vowing to stay until officers involved in the killing are fired. No, they should be jailed. They should be jailed. Firing these cops, that ain't good enough, y'all. That ain't good enough. They also calling for the police to be barred from responding to mental health calls. The police have shown us over and over again that they are not equipped to handle individuals with mental health concerns. Ashley Gant, Free the People, ROC, during the news conference. These officers are trained to kill and not de-escalate. Exactly. That's the only reason why they want to be on the police force. It is easy to kill us and get away with it. A New York City protest in support of Daniel Prude is scheduled for 7 p.m. on Thursday in the Times Square. I get tired of these stories. I get tired of these stories. I seriously do. I seriously do. And we're seeing too much of this cropping up all over the country, from these police putting knees in backs, putting knees on necks. They do this shit to us. And when they do it, they intend to kill you. That's why they got their knee on you, because they don't want you to live. Thank you, Diana Renee, for the super chat. State-sanctioned genocide. You damn right about that. How many times have we seen these cops handle people on opioids that are acting strange? I have never seen them handle them like that, because you know why? That's one of their own. But if a black man is strung out and maybe acting strange because of drugs or even mental health problems, they want to just come up and execute you. They want to execute you. Oh, man. Thank you, John L., for the super chat. A police badge is the new ninja hunting license. Yeah. I mean, let's be real. These cops are only there to get away with killing us. They are not doing police work, and it needs to be said a lot more. What they are doing is not police work at all. They are an execution squad. Whenever they can get a hold of us, they know they can kill us and there's no consequences. And we know about the qualified immunity. I was one of the first people on here talking about qualified immunity. Thank you, Akira. Government-sanctioned genocidal Gestapo. You're right. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jerome Simmons, we are in a race where it's been going on for centuries now. You know, this is why they want us unarmed, so they can continue to do whatever they want to us. And we have no way of fighting back. I wish his brother would have found another way to deal with him and not resort to calling the police. Now you can never take back that night of them suffocating your brother to death. And you're never going to get your brother back now. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you just give me a few minutes after I have the live stream down, I will just look in the description box if you want to see this article. And if you got the balls to watch the video, watch the video. It's a very tough video to watch. It's right up there with George Floyd. It's at that level. So, I remember how traumatized I felt after watching George Floyd get executed out on that street. And this one is going to make you feel the same way. It really is. Police have no business going out on mental health calls anyway. They're not even trained to do real police work. So what are they going to do with somebody mentally ill? Thank you, Nisha C, for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Yeah. I feel so bad for this family, but trust me, there are probably thousands more that have been handled this way in police custody. And we know police departments are going to do absolutely nothing to stop these officers from doing these things. There was no reason for this to happen when a man is nude and his hands are cuffed behind his back. There was no reason for them to do what they did. And they claim he was spitting. Okay, let's say he was spitting. Let's say that was true. Let's say that was true. Y'all can't go behind him. He can only, if his hands are handcuffed, really, technically, he can only spit forward. He may be able to turn his head, but if you get directly behind him, he wouldn't have been able to spit on you. And I don't see how 4 cops, and I'm going to still say this, I don't see how 4 cops, the same amount of cops that handled George Floyd, 4 cops can't handle one damn man. And see, that whole thing with George Floyd, that was effed up too. Once he was in the car, the next thing they should have did was take him to the police station. They didn't do that. They took him out of the car, laid him on that street, and they killed him. That's not their job to do that. Once they have custody of you, the only thing they need to do is take you down to the police station. Anything short of that, then they're not doing their job. See, the only time they know how to do a police job in this country is when they're dealing with the white community. All of a sudden, they know, they can remember their training. But when they come in the black community or deal with any of us on the street, it's anything goes. It's like the Wild Wild West. Any damn thing goes. Anything goes. Anything can happen. And when it happens, they got a damn answer for everything. You were resisting. You didn't follow commands. You were spitting. You were doing this. You were doing, oh, so what? None of those things should add up to murder. None of those things should add up to murder. I don't care if he was spitting. That doesn't mean he deserved to die. Just like with George Floyd. He had a fake $20 bill. So what? Nobody deserves to die over no fucking counterfeit bill. Get the hell out of here with all them damn reasons you're giving. Nobody want to hear you. Well, first of all, the same community of people that enslaved our people have no business patrolling us period. They couldn't be fair with you from day one. They're not going to be fair with you now. They have no business patrolling anybody in the Black community, period. They have no business teaching us. None of that. I don't believe in any of that. We should not even be in their presence at all. Every intention they have for us is never going to be good. And we see this. We see this over and over and over in all of these cases. These people are, when they arrest us, they're rotten to the adults and they're rotten to the children. It doesn't matter. If you're an elderly man getting arrested, they're rotten to you too. It's ridiculous. You know, there's no ending, because as long as these folks are in charge of these police departments and everything, none of this is going to ever end. It's never going to end. Demetrius Flag, thank you for the super chat. Lisa, $20 bill, but Wall Street ruined the world's economy. Did stockbrokers receive knees on their necks? No. It's just like Eric Gardner. They made a big deal out of some Lucy cigarettes, which he didn't even do during the time those cops approached him. They said he had broke up a fight on the streets. But those Arab stores, because they're around me, sell those Lucy cigarettes all the time. They've been selling them Lucy cigarettes. I can even remember back in the 80s, they were selling them Lucy cigarettes out of their stores. I never seen one cop go in any of those Arab convenience stores that's in the Black neighborhood and put knees on their necks. And they've been selling Lucy's forever. So, you know, you can miss me with, if anybody else do it, it's cool. But if Black people do it, it's wrong. Y'all can miss me with all of that. I don't want to hear it. Y'all, I'm going to let you go because I'm just so frustrated right now. I'm so frustrated right now. It's not even funny. So I can see here go another protest that's about to blow up out in the streets, as if there weren't enough going on at this point. Now you got more. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the rest of your day. May the Most High be with you wherever you are in this world. And please stay safe, for real. Because these folks, there's no pandemic that's going to stop them from acting stupid out on the streets when they're dealing with us. Peace, family.